department.
Okay, what happened?
We received a call at approximately 5 p.m. That we had possibly had a drowning at the lake. Our officers arrived and found a large group of juveniles that had swam out into the lake, and they told us that their friend was about halfway to a valve that's in the lake, and he had disappeared. We called Edmond, OHP, and also our local fire department. They came out here, and after about an hour and a half, we located a 14-year-old male that was deceased in the water. You know, the water's extremely cold, and we don't recommend that really any time of the year because that's a pretty good swim, let alone when the water's this cold. And I don't know what his experience as a swimmer was.
How far out there were they to?
Oh, he was probably 25 yards from the shore, and the water's about 16 feet deep.
Explain the valve. What was he swimming toward?
Oh,
exactly?
This is one of our secondary water sources for Guthrie, and there's a large valve that's in the middle of the lake. It's a concrete. You'll be able to see it, a concrete deal out in the middle of the lake that a lot of people will fish around, and apparently this group of kids are swimming to it when the one disappeared in the water.
Has his family been notified? Any names being given out at this time?
No, not at this point. We have one family member, but we're trying to get a hold of a couple more before we release it. He's a local Guthrie kid, 14.
Do you think he just couldn't swim? I mean, too cold? And that valve and doing kind of suction?
No, it's. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure of the experience of his swimming, but like I said, the water's about 60, 61, 62 degrees. That's pretty cold. That's a pretty good swim. I mean, even for an experienced swimmer. Like I said, we don't recommend it. This is a swimming lake, obviously, but we don't recommend doing that kind of swimming out here.
Maybe I missed it. How far was the valve from the point of the shore? How far of a swim is that he was trying to make?
Probably 40 yards, 50 yards roughly. A long swim. The wind's pretty brisk and today, and like I said, the water temperature, there's a lot of factors I'm guessing at this point that played part of it.
And talk to me.
I'm sorry. How did you find him? What was the?
We had divers. Edmond divers were in the water, and they located him under the water surface.
So did this start immediately as a boat rescue, or I mean, how did the whole rescue process go about?
Our officers arrived and made contact with the people, the witnesses are out here that said he disappeared. At that point, he started calling resources, our local fire department. Then we called Edmond and OHP because they have boats and rescue swimmers. And it was basically recovery at that point. He'd been under the water at this point a couple hours, so we're pretty sure it's just going to be recovery at this point.
With all the rains, is the water pretty muddy, or was that a factor in this?
This water is pretty murky any time of the year. It's not like 10 Killer, one of these other lakes that are really clear. I mean, it stays pretty dark. You can't really see in it.
Overall, how many people were involved in this effort, rescue and then recovery?
I would say probably 25 to 30.
And what all agencies besides?
Edmond, Highway Patrol, Guthrie Fire Department, and the Guthrie Police Department.
Lieutenant, what is the time frame that it took to get rescue crews out here? And this is just from us hearing sounds like the mother yelling and screaming as far as response time. What was the...
Our officer arrived. We got the call around 5, and our fire department was on the way within minutes after he arrived here. Edmond was here. I mean, they got here as fast as they could.
Sure.
I mean, obviously we wanted to save him, but they got here as fast as they could, and they got the divers in the water as fast as they could to be able to make an attempt at locating.
Did the other kids do anything to try to find their buddy, or what happened there?
They showed us the path that they had swam out to the valve, so we used that, showed the fire department where we believed that he had went in at, so that's where a starting point that they would look in the winds, going from left to right, so it was pretty much from that point.
But had they done anything to try to find him?
Not that I know of. I believe they called. I don't know if they actually went into the water themselves to try to find him.
Last question for me. Do you know if there's been prior drownings at this lake?
We've had one, probably one in the last 15 years out here. We just don't have them very often. Like I said, it's a swimming lake and a fishing lake. We have lake patrol out here in the summertime. but we haven't had a drowning out here in a long time.
Was he doing this himself? I guess I thought he was doing it with a bunch of kids.
There was a group of kids, and they had swam. There were actually some sitting on the valve when our officer got here, so they had all went in the water at once, and then they had got to the valve before he could, and then he just went under, and they weren't able to locate him.